Papa, why do they both have our eyes? Minja's voice punched through the champagne-soaked air of Seoul's Innovation Summit like a grenade with the pin already pulled. My 6-year-old son stood in the marble hallway, finger pointed at two men in matching charcoal suits, men whose silver eyes mirrored his own with the kind of precision that made my carefully constructed life flash before my eyes. Kang Taemin and Kang Hyunwoo, twin alpha CEOs, corporate royalty. The two biggest mistakes I'd ever made in one unforgettable night 7 years ago. The fathers my sons absolutely could not meet. Well, shit. The precognitive flash hit me half a second too late. Champagne glass shattering, Taemin's face draining of color, Hyunwoo's mask cracking like ice under pressure. My ability had been screaming warnings all evening, but I'd shoved them down because surely the universe wouldn't be cruel enough to orchestrate this disaster at the most important business event of my career. Apparently, the universe had a sick sense of humor. I plastered on my most unbothered smile and crouched to Minji's level, ignoring the future echoes clawing at my consciousness. Hey, little star, remember when I said to stay close and not wander off to interrogate strangers? They're not strangers. Minjae's logic was airtight and absolutely devastating. They have our eyes, Papa. That's genetics. We learned about it in school. Fantastic. My 6-year-old had better investigative instincts than most private detectives. Hajun peeked out from behind my leg, his quieter, more emotionally perceptive twin, studying the two alphas with an intensity that made my stomach drop. Papa, your heart is going really fast. Are you scared? Yes. Terrified. Absolutely losing my mind right now, thanks for asking. Just surprised, Hajuna. I squeezed his hand once, twice, our secret code for I've got you, always, and forced myself to stand, to face the two men who could dismantle everything I'd built with a single DNA test and a team of lawyers I couldn't afford to fight. Taemin looked like someone had reached into his chest and rearranged his organs. His hand trembled slightly before he shoved it into his pocket, and I hated that I noticed. Hated that some traitorous part of me remembered how gentle those hands had been. Hyunwoo, the colder twin, had gone completely still. Predator still. The kind of stillness that made prey animals flee on instinct. Park Ji-won. Hyunwoo's voice was Arctic precision. I wasn't aware you had children. The way he said children, like he was filing evidence for a future prosecution, made my omega instincts flare defensive. I let my scent sharpen just enough to broadcast approach with extreme caution. Lavender and honey with a bite that had made more than one alpha back down over the years. Two of them, actually. I kept my tone professionally pleasant. The same voice I used with investors who thought omegas couldn't run tech companies. Minjae and Hajun. Say hello to Mr. Kang and Mr. Kang boys. Which one is which? Minjae asked, because subtlety had never been his strong suit. You look exactly the same. That's so cool. Do you ever trick people? Papa says lying is bad, but swapping places seems more like strategic identity optimization. I was raising a future con artist. Wonderful. Minjae, I said gently but firmly, why don't you and Ha-jun go find Uncle Sang-hyun? He's by the dessert table, probably stealing macarons. But Papa, now please. Something in my voice must have registered because Ha-jun immediately tugged his brother's sleeve. Come on, Jay. Papa's using his I mean business voice. That means grown-up stuff. I watched them disappear into the sea of Seoul's corporate elite, my heart following them like a rope I'd never learned to cut. A precog flash rippled through me, Minji tripping in exactly 43 seconds, Sang-hyun catching him, macarons everywhere. But at least they'd be safe. When I turned back, both alphas had moved closer, not threatening, but deliberate, magnetic. The same gravitational pull that had destroyed my common sense 7 years ago. How old are they? Taemin's voice was soft, almost fragile. That's really not your... How old, Ji-won? Hyunwoo cut through my deflection like a surgical blade. I'd spent 7 years building emotional armor thick enough to survive anything, raised twins alone, started a company with nothing but spite and a laptop. Learned to weaponize my precognition instead of letting it drown me in anxiety. I didn't bend for alphas anymore. I lifted my chin, met Hyunwoo's gaze dead on. 6. They turned 6 in April. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a presentation in 45 minutes that could make or break my company, and I'd really prefer not to. April. Taemin's voice cracked like glass. 6 years. April. I watched the math happen in real time. Watched recognition slam into them with the force of a tsunami. Watched 7 years of distance collapse into one terrible, unavoidable truth. Hyunwoo's carefully controlled expression fractured, revealing something raw underneath. Something that looked dangerously close to devastation. Jiwon. Taemin stepped forward, and I caught a whiff of his scent. Cedar and rain. Achingly familiar. Please, we need to talk. Just 5 minutes. No. The word came out harder than intended, sharp enough to cut. We really don't. I turned to leave, but Hyunwoo's hand caught my wrist. Featherlight, no force, but the touch sent electricity racing up my arm and straight into memories I'd spent 7 years trying to forget. His scent wrapped around me. Smoke and leather and winter nights that tasted like the best worst decision I'd ever made. After your presentation, he said quietly, voice pitched low enough for only my ears. We talk. Or I follow you into that boardroom and we have this conversation in front of the procurement committee. Not a threat, a promise. A precog flash hit me. This conversation 3 hours from now. Tears I hadn't cried in years. Truths that would reshape everything. Behind me, I heard Minjae's bright voice echo through the gallery. Uncle Sang-yun, those fancy men have our exact eyes. Do you think they're secretly our... The future splintered into 1,000 possibilities. None of them good. I looked at Taemin, then Hyunwoo. 2 alphas who'd spent one night making me believe in fairy tales before reality crashed back in. Fine, I whispered, after the presentation. But this changes nothing. Hyunwoo's eyes flashed. We'll see. And I knew, standing there with my son's laughter floating through crystal chandeliers and 7 years of secrets combusting around me, that everything was about to change, whether I was ready or not. The words hung in the air between us like smoke, and I felt the exact moment Hyunwoo's grip on my wrist loosened. Not releasing me, just softening. Like he'd remembered I wasn't something he could command into submission. Smart alpha. I pulled my hand back slowly, deliberately, and resisted the urge to rub where his fingers had been. My skin still buzzed with the contact, nerve endings apparently suffering from selective amnesia about why getting close to these two was a spectacularly bad idea. The presentation starts in 40 minutes, I said, proud of how steady my voice sounded. I need to prep. Of course. Taemin's voice carried that same gentleness I remembered, the kind that made you want to trust him right before life reminded you trust was a luxury omegas couldn't afford. We'll be in the audience. Front row. Of course they would. I nodded once, sharp and professional, then turned on my heel and walked away. Each step measured, controlled, absolutely not fleeing, even though my precognition was screaming at me to grab my kids and disappear into the night like I'd done 7 years ago. But I'd learned something in those 7 years. Running didn't solve problems. It just postponed them. I found Sang-yun near the dessert table, exactly where my ability had shown me. Minjae and Hajun flanking him like tiny bodyguards as he evaluated the macaron selection with scientific precision. Uncle Sang-hyun takes his desserts very seriously, Minjae informed me solemnly. He says the lavender ones are an insult to French pastry, but he's eating them anyway. They're mediocre, Sang-hyun corrected. Then his eyes locked onto me. My best friend had known me since university, which meant he could read my panic from across a crowded room. Jiwon, you look like you've seen a ghost. 2 ghosts. Twins ghosts who happen to be... Not here, I cut him off, glancing at my sons. Hajun tugged my sleeve. Papa, are you okay? Your future eyes are doing the thing. Damn it. I'd taught my kids to recognize when I was using my ability so they'd know when to listen without question. Hadn't considered it might backfire during a crisis. I'm fine, baby. Just had a vision about the presentation going really well. The lie tasted bitter, but I'd gotten good at those over the years. Survival required it. Sang-hyun wasn't fooled. He crouched to the twins' level with a conspiratorial grin. Hey, little troublemakers. I bet I can convince the catering staff to give you both hot chocolate if you promise not to tell your papa I'm corrupting you with sugar before bedtime. Deal, Minjae agreed immediately, because he'd inherited my negotiation skills and absolutely no self-preservation instincts. Hajun hesitated, looking between me and Sang-hyun with those two perceptive eyes. Papa needs to talk to Uncle Sang-hyun alone. Smart kid, Sang-hyun murmured, ruffling Hajun's hair before standing. Once the twins were safely distracted by a waiter with a hot chocolate tray, he grabbed my elbow and steered me toward a quieter corner. Okay, spill. What happened? They're here. Who's? His eyes widened. Oh, oh no, the Kang twins? Your one-night stand turned accidental baby daddies are here. At the Innovation Summit, the same event where you're pitching to the procurement committee that could make Haven Solutions a major player? Your ability to summarize disasters is truly impressive. Ji-won, this is bad. This is spectacularly, cosmically bad. He ran a hand through his perfectly styled hair, destroying it. Did they see Minjae and Hajun? Minjae walked right up to them and announced they have the same eyes. With witnesses, multiple witnesses. Sang-hyun's face did something complicated. Of course he did. That kid has your talent for self-sabotage. He's 6, and already a chaos agent. He gripped my shoulders, forcing me to meet his eyes. Listen to me. You can handle this. You've handled worse. Remember when you were pregnant, broke, and your landlord tried to evict you? You used your precognition to predict the housing market crash and negotiated yourself into ownership of the building. That was luck. That was brilliance. You're brilliant, Ji-won. You built a company from nothing while raising twins alone. 2 alpha CEOs don't get to waltz in and... A precog flash slammed into me. 43 minutes from now. The presentation, my voice steady, slides perfect, procurement committee nodding. Then the questions. Hyunwoo in the front row, arms crossed. Taemin leaning forward. The committee asking about company stability, family support structures, single-parent concerns. And me, standing at that podium, realizing they could destroy everything. With one strategically placed doubt. I sucked in a breath, the vision releasing me back into the present. What did you see? Sang-hyun asked immediately. They're going to be in the audience during my pitch. So, you've presented to hostile crowds before. Not hostile, worse. I met his eyes. Invested. They're going to care, Sang-hyun, and I don't know if that makes this easier or infinitely more complicated. He studied me for a long moment. Do you want me to run interference? I can accidentally spill wine on them, create a distraction. No. I straightened my spine, smoothed down my suit jacket. I'm not running anymore. I run, they follow. I hide, they find me. The only way through this is forward. Very inspirational, also possibly suicidal. I prefer strategically optimistic. Across the room, I caught sight of Taemin watching me. Not creepy surveillance, just awareness. Like he could feel exactly where I was in the space, the same way I could feel him. 7 years hadn't dulled that connection, apparently. Hyunwoo stood beside his twin, speaking quietly to someone I recognized as the head of the procurement committee. My precognition flickered. They're not just here for business. They're here because of the contract, because Haven Solutions and Kang Industries are both competing for the same government cybersecurity deal. This was always going to be a collision course. I need to prep, I said quietly. Ji-won, I'll be fine, Sang-hyun. I always am. He didn't look convinced, but he nodded. I'll watch the twins. You go be terrifyingly competent and make those alphas regret ever letting you go. They didn't let me go. They never had me to begin with. But I didn't say that out loud. Instead, I went to find the presentation room, my mind already running through slides and talking points and contingency plans for every possible future I could see branching out from this moment. 40 minutes until I faced them again. 40 minutes to decide if I was going to let the past stay buried or let it finally, catastrophically, detonate. The presentation room was empty when I slipped inside, just polished wood and leather chairs arranged in perfect corporate symmetry. I set my laptop on the podium, fingers already pulling up my slide deck while my mind spun through futures like a dealer shuffling cards. Scenario 1. I nail the presentation, win the contract, and somehow avoid the conversation entirely. My precognition laughed at that one. Probability 0.0%. Scenario 2. I face them after, control the narrative, and Papa! I spun around so fast my laptop nearly went airborne. Minjae stood in the doorway, Hajun half hidden behind him, both clutching cups of what looked like their third hot chocolate, based on the chocolate mustaches they were sporting. What are you two doing here? Where's Uncle Sang-hyun? Bathroom emergency, Minjae announced cheerfully. He ate too many mediocre macarons. He said, and I quote, "Tell your father I'll be back in 5 minutes or I'm dying, whichever comes first." He's very dramatic, Hajun added softly, and you two just wandered into the presentation room? We followed the signs, also I had a feeling. Minjae tapped his temple in a gesture he'd absolutely stolen from watching me use my ability. Not like your future seeing, but like kid instinct. You needed us. My heart did something complicated and painful. I always need you, but right now I need you both to go back and wait with... We wanted to see where you're going to do your big speech, Hajun interrupted, which was rare enough that I actually stopped talking. My quieter son moved further into the room, studying the setup with careful attention. Is this where you're going to tell all the important people why your company is the best? That's the plan. And those men with our eyes, Minja said, hopping onto one of the chairs and spinning in it, are they going to be here too? My precognition flared. I saw it before he even finished the sentence. Taemin and Hyunwoo walking in, finding my sons here. The conversation I'd been trying to avoid happening in this room instead of later, on my terms, when I'd had time to prepare. Probably, I admitted, because lying to my kids had never worked. They had some kind of collective truth detection superpower. But that doesn't... Are they important to you? Hajun's question hit like a punch to the solar plexus. My son stood by the window now, backlit by Seoul's glittering skyline, looking far too small and far too wise all at once. It's complicated, baby. That's what you always say when the answer is yes, but you don't want to talk about it. Minjae stopped spinning, fixing me with a look that reminded me uncomfortably of myself. Like when I ask if we can get a dog and you say, it's complicated, but you really mean no because Papa's already overwhelmed. I'm not overwhelmed. Your future eyes are flickering. They always do that when you're stress seeing. Stress seeing? That's what Minjae called it when my precognition went into overdrive, showing me every possible disaster simultaneously. Kid was too perceptive for his own good. I crossed to them, kneeling so we were eye level. Listen, those men, they're connected to our past, to before you two were born. And yes, it's complicated, but that doesn't mean... Are they our dads? Hajun's voice was barely a whisper, but it detonated in the quiet room like a bomb. I'd prepared for this question, had answers rehearsed, age-appropriate explanations ready, carefully constructed truths that would protect them from the messy reality of how they came into existence. But looking at my sons, these two perfect, impossible humans I'd built my entire life around, all those practiced words dissolved. What makes you ask that? I managed. The eyes, Minji said simply. And the way you looked at them, Papa, like you were scared and sad and something else all mixed up together. And your scent changed, Hajun added. It got all sharp, like when you're trying to protect us. I'd taught them too well, taught them to read people, to trust their instincts, to question everything. And now those lessons were coming back to bite me. Yes, I said quietly before I could overthink it. They're your biological fathers. Minjae's eyes went huge. Hajun went very, very still. Both of them? Minjae asked. It's an alpha twin thing. Sometimes when twins bond with an omega, the biology gets complicated. I was absolutely not explaining the mechanics of a dual claim to my 6-year-olds. But that doesn't mean... Do they know about us? Hajun's voice was so small it hurt. And there it was. The question that mattered. The one that would shape how my sons saw themselves, saw me, saw the world. I could lie. Should lie, probably. Tell them Taemin and Hyunwoo had known all along, had chosen not to be involved, make this someone else's fault. But I'd spent 7 years running from truth. I was tired of running. No, baby. They didn't know. I never told them. Why not? Minjae's question wasn't accusatory, just genuinely curious. Because I was scared and young, and I thought I was protecting all of us. I reached out, pulled them both close, but I was wrong. And now they know, and things are going to change. And I need you both to understand that whatever happens, you two are my priority. Always, above everything. Hajun burrowed into my side. Are they mad at you? I don't know yet. Are you going to let them meet us properly? Minjae asked. Like, not just accidental hallway meetings, but actual dad stuff? My precognition showed me fragments. Taemin teaching Minjae to throw a baseball. Hyunwoo helping Hajun with homework, patient and careful. Sunday mornings that looked like family, felt like belonging. And me, watching from the sidelines, wondering if letting them in meant losing the life I'd built. I think so, I whispered. If that's what you want. We want to know them, Hajun said softly. But we don't want you to be sad. Papa's always a little sad, Minji corrected, but in a brave way, like superheroes who save the world but it costs them something. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so I just held them tighter. The door opened behind us. I didn't need precognition to know who it was. My entire body went on alert, scent flaring protective, every instinct screaming at me to put myself between my sons and the two alphas now standing in the doorway. Taemin's eyes were locked on Minjae and Hajun's like he was seeing a miracle. Hyunwoo's face had gone carefully blank, but I caught the tremor in his hands before he fisted them at his sides. We can come back, Taemin said quietly. If this isn't... No. I stood slowly, keeping my sons close. You're here. They're here. Let's just get this over with. Minji, because he had zero sense of appropriate social anxiety, waved. Hi again. Papa says you're our dads. That's pretty cool. Do you like dinosaurs? Because I'm really into velociraptors right now. The silence that followed was so thick, I could have cut it with a knife and served it on fancy corporate china. Taemin's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No sound came out. He looked like someone had just told him gravity was optional, and his brain was still processing the physics. Hyunwoo, ever the controlled one, managed to find his voice first. Velociraptors are efficient predators, right? Minjae lit up like someone had just validated his entire existence. They hunted in packs and had that cool claw thing and were way smarter than people think. Not like Jurassic Park at all. That movie got so much wrong. They had feathers probably, and they were smaller, but still deadly. Minjae really likes dinosaurs, Hajun added quietly, still pressed against my side. He can name 47 species, I counted. I watched this surreal moment unfold, my precognition utterly useless because apparently the future had decided to just throw chaos at me without warning. Two of Korea's most powerful alpha CEOs, standing in a presentation room, discussing prehistoric predators with the 6-year-old sons they'd just discovered existed? This is not how I imagined this conversation going, I muttered. Would you prefer awkward silence? Taemin's eyes finally moved from Minjae to me, and the emotion in them was so raw it physically hurt to witness. Because I can do awkward silence. I'm very good at catastrophically poor communication. That's true, Hyunwoo said mildly. He once went 3 weeks without telling me he'd broken his wrist because he didn't want to be dramatic. It was a hairline fracture. You're an idiot. The casual brotherly bickering was so normal, so domestic, that it created this weird cognitive dissonance with the reality of the situation. These weren't just abstract alpha CEO threats to my carefully constructed life. They were people, flawed, complicated people who apparently had the same stupid sibling dynamics as my twins. Papa breaks things all the time and doesn't tell anyone, Minjae announced helpfully. Last month he cut his hand really bad on broken glass and just wrapped it in a towel until Uncle Sang-hyun found him and freaked out. Minjae, what? You always say honesty is important. Selective honesty is also a valuable life skill. Taemin took a careful step forward, and I felt my body tense on instinct. He stopped immediately, hands visible, non-threatening, like he was approaching something wild that might bolt. Smart alpha, my hindbrain whispered traitorously. Can I? His voice cracked slightly. Can I ask their names? Properly? The question was so gentle, so careful, that something in my chest cracked. I'd spent 7 years building walls, and he was dismantling them with basic courtesy. I'm Minjae, my bold son announced before I could answer. Park Minjae. I'm 6 3/4. I like dinosaurs and space and building things. And I'm exactly 4 minutes older than Hajun, which makes me the responsible one. That's not what Papa says, Hajun countered, finally loosening his grip on my leg. Papa says being born first just means you came out impatient. I prefer efficient. You prefer chaos. I couldn't help it. I laughed. Just a short, sharp sound of disbelief at the absurdity of my children roasting each other in front of the alphas, who could legally claim them and turn my entire world inside out. Hyunwoo's gaze snapped to me at the sound, something flickering in those cold eyes. You raised them well. It wasn't a question, but it felt like one. Like he was trying to reconcile the omega he'd spent one night with 7 years ago and the person standing in front of him now. The single parent who'd built a life from nothing while he and his twin had been building corporate empires. I did what I had to do, I said quietly. Alone. Taemin's voice was barely above a whisper. You did it alone. I had help. Sang-yeon, some friends, my precognition when it wasn't being completely useless. I straightened my spine, met his eyes. And I had them. They're why I survived. Your precognition? Hyunwoo's corporate shark brain had apparently latched onto that detail. You're a seer? Not exactly. I see possible futures, not definite ones. It's like having a really aggressive anxiety disorder, except sometimes it's actually useful. I glanced at the clock on the wall. 32 minutes until my presentation. Look, this is all very touching and weird, but I have a pitch to deliver in half an hour, and I really need to... We'll be in the audience, Hyunwoo interrupted. Front row. You said that already. I'm saying it again, with context. He gestured to Minji and Hajun. We just found out we have sons. You think we're going to miss watching their father pitch the most important deal of his career? That sounds incredibly stressful for everyone involved. Probably. Taemin's smile was small, sad, hopeful. But we've already missed 6 years. I'm not missing another minute if I can help it. My precognition flared, showing me the presentation, them in the front row, their eyes on me the entire time, the weight of their attention, the pressure, the fear that I'd fail with them watching, and underneath that, smaller but insistent, the possibility that I might succeed, that having them there might actually make me stronger, not weaker. Fine, I heard myself say, but if you do anything to sabotage my pitch, I will use my precognition to find the most embarrassing possible future for both of you and make it happen out of pure spite. Noted, Hyunwoo said, lips twitching. Papa's threats are very creative, Minjae informed them proudly. One time he told a rude investor that he'd foreseen them getting food poisoning from bad sushi, and they left the meeting early to cancel their dinner reservation. Did they actually get food poisoning? Taemin asked. We'll never know, I said sweetly. But they also never called back, so win-win. Hajun tugged my sleeve. Papa, Uncle Sang-yeon is coming back. I can hear him muttering about French pastries and digestive consequences. My kid's hearing was supernatural. Sure enough, Sang-yeon appeared in the doorway seconds later, looking harried and slightly green. He took in the scene, me flanked by my twins, two alphas standing at a respectful distance, looking like they'd been hit by emotional freight trains, and his expression went through approximately 17 stages of concern. Should I be calling security or a therapist? He asked. Neither. We're having a civil conversation. You hate civil conversations. I'm growing as a person. You're spiraling. Multitasking. Taemin made a sound that might have been a laugh. Hyunwoo's expression had shifted into something almost fond, which was concerning because I didn't need him looking at me like that. Like I was interesting instead of inconvenient. We should go, Hyunwoo said, though his eyes stayed on Hajun, who was studying him with unnerving intensity. Let you prepare. But Jiwon, he paused, and I hated that I waited for him to continue. Hated that his voice saying my name still did things to my nervous system. After the presentation, we talk, really talk, about all of it. You already threatened me with that. I'm confirming, no escape routes this time. My precognition showed me that conversation. Tears I didn't want to cry. Truths that would hurt. Possibilities that terrified me more than any business deal ever could. After the presentation, I agreed, because what else could I say? They left finally, Taemin throwing one last look at the twins like he was memorizing them. Hyunwoo's mask back in place but cracking at the edges. Sanghyun waited exactly 3 seconds after the door closed. What the hell just happened? They met their sons. Their sons like them. And I have 28 minutes to not have a complete breakdown before the most important pitch of my life. So a normal Tuesday for you? Pretty much. Minjae spun in the chair again. I like them, Papa. They seem nice. Sad, but nice. They have kind eyes, Hajun added softly. Like they want to be good at this, but don't know how yet. My brilliant, emotionally intelligent sons were going to destroy me. Okay, I said, pulling up my presentation again. New plan. I'm going to win this contract, have an extremely uncomfortable conversation with two alphas, and then we're all getting ice cream and pretending today was normal. Today was anything but normal, Sang-hyun pointed out. Then we'll pretend harder. 27 minutes until everything changed. Again. I stared at my laptop screen, watching the slides blur as my precognition decided now was the perfect time to show me 17 different versions of this presentation, each one ending in increasingly creative disasters. Papa, your eyes are doing the flickery thing again. Minjae had stopped spinning and was watching me with concern that no 6-year-old should have to feel for their parent. I'm fine. Just running through scenarios. Liar, Hajun said softly. You're scared. Sang-hyun shooed the twins toward the door. How about you two go guard the dessert table from further macaron-related crimes while I make sure your papa doesn't accidentally foresee himself into a panic attack? We're very good at guarding desserts, Minjae agreed seriously. Come on, Hajun. Strategic positioning is important. The moment they left, I slumped against the podium. I can't do this. You absolutely can. You've pitched to worse audiences. Name one. That venture capitalist who spent the entire meeting mansplaining your own technology back to you, while his scent screamed, Omegas belong at home, making babies, not companies. I told him his future involved a very public securities fraud investigation. Did it? No idea. But he went pale and never contacted us again, so I'm calling it a win. I pulled up my notes, trying to focus. This is different, Sang-hyun. They're going to be sitting there watching me, knowing that I kept their sons from them for 6 years. How am I supposed to concentrate when my phone buzzed? Text from an unknown number. We're not here to judge you. We're here to watch you be brilliant. Taemin. How the hell did he get my number? Then again, billionaire alpha CEOs probably had resources I couldn't even imagine. A second text arrived immediately after. He stole your contact information from the summit registry. It's technically illegal. Hyunwoo. You literally did the same thing. Taemin, I used legal channels. Hyunwoo, you hacked the database. Taemin, legally ambiguous hacking. There's a difference. Hyunwoo. I stared at my phone, watching two of Korea's most powerful alphas bicker via text like teenagers, and something in my chest loosened. Just slightly. I typed back, both of you are terrible. Also stop texting me. I'm trying to prepare. Good luck, Ji-won. You're going to kill it. Taemin, statistically, your proposal has a 73% chance of success based on preliminary committee feedback. Hyunwoo. That's possibly the least reassuring encouragement I've ever received. Me, I'm not good at this. Hyunwoo. We've noticed. Taemin. I shoved my phone in my pocket before I could do something stupid like smile. They're texting you? Sang-hyun looked fascinated and horrified in equal measure. Apparently they're even more chaotic than I remembered. And you're blushing. I'm not. I caught sight of my reflection in the window. Damn it. Shut up. This is going to be a disaster. Thanks for the vote of confidence. I meant the good kind of disaster. The kind where you get everything you didn't know you wanted and it terrifies you. He squeezed my shoulder. Come on. 15 minutes until showtime. Let's make sure Haven Solutions becomes unforgettable. The presentation hall filled quickly. Government officials, corporate executives, tech journalists, all settling into seats with the kind of self-importance that came with deciding which companies lived or died based on PowerPoint aesthetics and quarterly projections. I stood backstage running through breathing exercises that absolutely were not working when my precognition slammed into me like a physical blow. Different from the usual flashes, sharper, more urgent. Min-jae, Hyunwoo. Hyunwoo clutching his chest, collapsing. Min-jae screaming. Medical emergency. Now, right now. I was moving before conscious thought caught up, shoving through the backstage curtain, scanning the audience. There, near the back. Hyunwoo swaying on his feet, Min-jae trying to hold him up, both of them looking small and terrified and wrong. Hyunwoo! I vaulted off the stage, ignoring the startled gasps, the confused murmurs. People blurred past. Nothing mattered except getting to my son. I reached them just as Hyunwoo's knees buckled, caught him, felt his pulse racing erratically under my fingers, his scent all wrong, sour with distress and something else. Something that made my omega instinct scream. Baby, talk to me. What hurts? Can't breathe right. Papa, something's wrong. His voice was so small, so scared. Min-jae grabbed my arm. It happened really fast. He was fine, and then he just wasn't. Sang-hyun appeared beside us. I'm calling an ambulance. No time. My precognition was screaming. Hospital was 20 minutes away. Hyunwoo didn't have 20 minutes. Then Taemin was there, kneeling beside us, and Hyunwoo right behind him. I should have been surprised. Should have questioned how they got into us so fast. But my entire world had narrowed to my son struggling to breathe. Let me see him. Taemin's voice was calm, controlled, but his hands shook as they hovered over Hyunwoo. Jiwon, please. I'm a trained medic. Alpha Combat Certification. Let me help. I looked at Hyunwoo's pale face, felt his irregular heartbeat, and made a choice. Do it. Taemin gathered Hyunwoo carefully, and I watched something happen. Watched my son's breathing ease slightly as Taemin's scent wrapped around him. Cedar and rain, grounding and safe. It's scent deprivation, Hyunwoo said quietly, his analytical brain clearly working through symptoms. He's experiencing alpha scent withdrawal. That's impossible. He's never been around alphas long enough to bond. Except he has. Taemin's eyes met mine. In utero, if you were claimed during pregnancy, even temporarily, the bond can pass to the children. They've been living on recessive alpha markers their entire lives. And now that we're here, their biology is recognizing what's missing. My precognition confirmed it. Showed me futures where Hyunwoo got worse, where Min-jae followed, where my son's own biology betrayed them because I'd tried to keep them safe by keeping them isolated. What do they need? My voice came out steady despite the panic clawing at my throat. Alpha scent, regularly, from their biological fathers. Hyunwoo's gaze was unwavering. They need us, Jiwon, not eventually. Now. Hyunwoo's breathing was already improving, his color returning as he unconsciously burrowed into Taemin's hold. My son, who was usually so cautious with strangers, melting into the arms of an alpha he'd just met because his body knew what his mind didn't. This was his father. They both were, and I'd kept them apart. Min-jae tugged my sleeve. Papa, I feel weird too. Like, empty. Is that bad? Hyunwoo crouched beside him without asking permission, and I watched Min-jae lean toward him on instinct. Watched my bold, fearless son seek comfort from an alpha whose scent matched his own. The presentation, the contract, everything I'd worked for was happening right now without me, while I knelt on the floor watching my carefully constructed world rearrange itself. Mr. Park? One of the committee members approached cautiously. We're ready to begin. If you need to reschedule due to the medical situation, I looked at my sons. At Taemin holding Hyunwoo like he was something precious. At Hyunwoo's hand gentle on Min-jae's shoulder. My precognition showed me the choice. Presentation now, prove I could separate personal from professional, win the contract but lose precious time, or stay, let everything I'd built potentially crumble, but keep my sons safe, not really a choice at all. I need 10 minutes, I said. Can you give me 10 minutes? The committee member hesitated, then nodded. We'll delay the start. Sang-hyun grabbed my arm. Jiwon, what are you doing? Being a father first, everything else second. I turned to Hyunwoo. Your company is competing for the same contract. Yes, you could use this. My absence. Win by default. His expression was unreadable. I could, but you won't, Taemin said quietly, still holding Hajun. Because that's our son you're holding, and these are our children who need medical attention. The contract doesn't matter. Everything matters in business, I countered. Not more than this. Hyunwoo's voice was firm. Never more than this. I stared at them. These two alphas who could have destroyed me with a single strategic move, who instead were choosing my sons over corporate victory. Go, Taemin said. Do your presentation. We'll stay with them. They're stable now, but they need sustained contact. We're not going anywhere. You don't know how to... We'll figure it out. We're fast learners. He smiled, sad and hopeful. And we have 6 years to make up for. Might as well start now. My precognition showed me the future. The presentation going well. Better than well. Brilliant. Because I'd just proven something the committee valued more than perfect slides. The ability to handle a crisis, make impossible choices, and still deliver. I kissed both my sons' foreheads. I'll be back in 30 minutes. You're safe, I promise. We know, Papa, Minji said. We can feel it. I stood, straightened my jacket, and walked back toward the stage. Behind me, I heard Hyunwoo's quiet voice. What do you like to do, Minjae? Besides dinosaurs? I like building things and asking questions, and their voices faded as I stepped into the spotlight. 30 minutes to save my company, a lifetime to figure out what came after. The spotlight hit my face, hot and unforgiving. Every seat was filled now, faces turned toward me with varying degrees of interest, skepticism, and in the case of one particularly judgmental official in the third row, what looked like aggressive indigestion. I clicked to the first slide, opened my mouth to deliver my carefully rehearsed opening, and my precognition chose that exact moment to show me Hajun laughing at something Taemin said. My son, laughing, with his father. Focus, damn it. Good evening. I'm Park Ji-won, founder and CEO of Haven Solutions, and I'm here to tell you why our cybersecurity platform is going to revolutionize government data protection. My voice came out steady, professional, absolutely not betraying the fact that my entire world had just reorganized itself in the span of 10 minutes. But first, I want to address what you just witnessed. Sang-yun, watching from the side, made a frantic cutting gesture. Abort, abort, do not go off script. I ignored him. You watched me sprint off this stage because my son had a medical emergency. You probably think that makes me unprofessional, unreliable, too distracted by personal matters to handle a government contract of this magnitude. I paused, meeting the eyes of the committee members one by one. You'd be wrong. The indigestion official raised an eyebrow. Mr. Park, what you witnessed was crisis management in real time. Assessment, prioritization, delegation, and execution under pressure. The exact skills you need in a cybersecurity partner. I clicked to the next slide, which showed Haven Solutions' response time metrics. When a breach happens, you don't want someone who freezes. You want someone who acts, who makes impossible choices in seconds and lives with the consequences. And your son? Another committee member asked. Stable, being cared for by qualified individuals while I'm here, doing what I promised I'd do. I smiled, sharp and unapologetic. I'm very good at multitasking. Someone in the audience laughed. The tension cracked, just slightly. I spent the next 25 minutes walking them through our platform, fielding questions, demonstrating why Haven Solutions wasn't just competitive, but superior. My precognition fed me micro-adjustments, showing me which points to emphasize, which concerns to address before they were voiced. But underneath it all, I felt them. Taemin and Hyunwoo somewhere in this building, with my sons. The pull was magnetic, biological, infuriating. Final question, the lead committee member said. Your company is significantly smaller than Kang Industries. How do we know you can handle a project of this scale? Because Kang Industries has the resources to absorb failure. We don't. I met her gaze. Every contract we take, we pour everything into it. Our reputation, our future, our survival. When you hire us, You're not getting corporate bureaucracy. You're getting people who will protect your data like it's our own children. The words hung in the air, weighted with unintentional truth. Thank you, Mr. Park. We'll be in touch within the week. I gathered my laptop, smiled professionally, and walked off stage on legs that felt like they might give out any second. Sang-hyun intercepted me in the hallway. That was either brilliant or career suicide. I honestly can't tell. Where are they? Conference room BG1. They've been with the twins this entire time. Minjae's been explaining the complete social hierarchy of his kindergarten class, and Hajun hasn't left Taemin's lap once. My chest did something painful. I found them exactly where Sang-hyun said. The door was slightly open, and I paused just for a second, watching through the gap. Hyunwoo sat cross-legged on the floor, Minjae demonstrating some complicated hand-clapping game with the patience of a saint. Taemin had Hajun curled against his chest, reading something on his phone in a soft voice that made my son's eyes heavy with drowsiness. They looked like a family. The thought terrified me. I pushed the door open. 4 pairs of silver eyes turned to me instantly. Papa! Minjae scrambled up. You're done. Did you win? Did they love it? Hyunwoo said you were probably destroying them with facts and logic. I said she was likely presenting a compelling case. Hyunwoo corrected mildly. He's a man, Hajun mumbled sleepily. Papa uses he and him. We told you that. My apologies. Hyunwoo's ears went slightly pink. I'm still adjusting to all the information I've learned in the past hour. Like what? I asked, more sharply than intended. Like Minjae can name 47 dinosaur species, is allergic to strawberries and wants to be a paleontologist astronaut when he grows up. Taemin's voice was gentle. And Hajun is learning piano, prefers reading to sports, and apparently has the emotional intelligence of someone 3 times his age. He got that from Papa, Minjae announced. Papa can read people really good. It's like a superpower, but less cool than seeing the future. I think it's equally cool, Hajun argued. You think everything Papa does is cool because you're biased. You're biased too. You literally told Hyunwoo that Papa is the smartest person in Korea. Because he is. I watched them bicker, my heart doing complicated acrobatics, and felt the weight of 7 years pressing down on me. 7 years of moments like this that Taemin and Hyunwoo had missed. Birthday parties and first days of school, and midnight fevers and the 1,000 tiny victories and catastrophes that made up childhood. We should go, I said quietly. It's late. The twins need proper rest, and you both probably have important CEO things to. No. Hyunwoo stood, and there was something in his expression that made my breath catch. Not anger exactly, but close. Controlled fury wrapped in perfect alpha composure. We had a deal, Jiwon. After the presentation, we talk. The circumstances have changed. Medical emergency, emotional overload. I think we can table. You've been tabling this conversation for 6 years. His voice was quiet but absolute. No more delays. The boys are staying with Sang-hyun, Taemin said, already texting. He just confirmed he's got them for the night. Their overnight bags are apparently in your car, which means you plan for contingencies. I always plan for contingencies, except the one where we'd eventually find out about our sons. The question wasn't accusatory, just broken. Taemin looked at me with those eyes that had made me stupid 7 years ago, and I saw the hurt there, raw and unguarded. Jiwon, please, we're not trying to take them from you. We just want to understand. Understand what? That I was a terrified 23-year-old, Omega who just had a one-night stand with 2 alphas who made it very clear it meant nothing? That I took a pregnancy test in a gas station bathroom and cried for 3 hours? That I chose to do this alone because letting you in felt more dangerous than struggling by myself? The words erupted out of me before I could stop them, sharp and acidic and far too honest. Hajun's eyes went wide. Minjae looked between us, processing. Boys, Sang-hyun appeared in the doorway, like he'd been summoned. How about we go raid the vending machines and you can tell me more about this kindergarten social hierarchy? I need detailed notes. But, Minjae started. Trust me, I said softly. Uncle Sang-hyun gives the best vending machine advice. Go. They left reluctantly, Hajun throwing one last worried look over his shoulder. The door clicked shut. Silence fell like a guillotine. We never said it meant nothing, Taemin finally whispered. You didn't have to. I woke up to an empty bed and a note that said, this was a mistake. Let's both forget this happened. I laughed, but it came out jagged. So I did. I forgot you existed and built a whole new life. That wasn't from us, Hyunwoo said. I blinked. What? That note. We didn't write it. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through something, then turned the screen to me. A photo of a handwritten note, different handwriting entirely. Our father found out about that night, found out we'd bonded with an Omega without his permission. He had security remove you from the hotel, leave that note, and threatened to destroy your career if you ever contacted us. The world tilted sideways. You're lying. I don't lie about things that matter. Hyunwoo's voice was ice over magma. We spent months trying to find you, hired investigators, called every contact we had. You'd vanished completely. Because I was pregnant and hiding from the two alphas who I thought had thrown me away like garbage. We thought you'd found someone better, someone who deserved you. Taemin's voice cracked. We were 27 years old, barely running our own lives, and we just experienced a bond neither of us understood. It terrified us, and we handled it badly, but we never stopped looking. I stared at them, my precognition useless because the past couldn't be changed no matter how many futures I could see. 6 years, I whispered. I kept your sons from you for 6 years because of a lie. You survived, Hyunwoo said simply. You built something extraordinary. Raised 2 incredible children. That's not failure, G1. That's triumph. It's also theft. I stole 6 years of their lives from you. Then let us have the rest, Taemin said quietly. However many we get. Let us try. The words settled between us like snow, quiet and transformative, and impossible to ignore. I wanted to say no, wanted to build my walls higher, protect what I'd spent 7 years creating. But my precognition was showing me futures now, branching and fractal and terrifying in their possibility. Min-jae learning to throw a baseball, Taemin's hand guiding his. Hajun falling asleep between us during movie night. Sunday mornings that tasted like belonging, the twins calling them dad without hesitation, and me watching from the edges, afraid to step fully into the picture. I don't know how to do this, I admitted, the confession scraping my throat raw. I've spent 6 years being everything to them. Their papa, their provider, their safe place. I don't know how to share that without feeling like I'm losing them. You won't lose them. Hyunwoo stepped closer, careful and measured. They adore you. That's evident in every word they speak, every time they look at you. We're not here to replace you, G1. We're here to support you. Support? I tested the word foreign on my tongue. I don't accept support well. We've noticed, Taemin said dryly. Sangyun told us about the time you dislocated your shoulder and didn't mention it for 3 days because you didn't want to be inconvenient. Sangyun has a big mouth. He cares about you, so do we. We just need you to let us prove it. I laughed, sharp and humorless. You don't know me well enough to care. One night 7 years ago doesn't create a foundation for anything except very complicated co-parenting arrangements and awkward school pickup rotations. Then let us get to know you. Taemin's voice was so earnest it hurt. The you that exists now, the one who built a company while raising twins, who uses precognition to threaten rude investors, who just gave a presentation on government cybersecurity while managing a medical crisis. The one who kept your sons from you, I added bitterly. The one who kept them safe, Hyunwoo corrected. You made the best choice you could with the information you had. I would have done the same. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Because I've spent the last hour with Min-jae, and that kid has your strategic mind and zero fear of authority. He told me, and I quote, that if I tried to take him away from Papa, he'd use his emotional intelligence to make me very sad. Hyunwoo's lips twitched. He's 6 and already negotiating like a corporate lawyer. Despite everything, I felt my mouth curve. He gets that from me. The sass, too? Definitely the sass. Taemin moved closer, and this time I didn't step back. He stopped just inside my personal space, close enough that his scent wrapped around me. Cedar and rain. grounding in a way that made my omega instincts purr with recognition. Traitorous biology. Ask us, he said softly. Whatever you need to know, whatever's been eating at you for 7 years, ask. 1,000 questions crowded my throat. I picked the one that hurt most. Did you ever think about me after that night? Every day, Taemin answered immediately. Every single day. You don't have to. I'm not lying to make you feel better. I'm telling you the truth because you deserve it. His hand lifted, hesitated, then gently tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. The touch was feather light, but it sent electricity racing down my spine. You were brilliant and funny, and you looked at us like we were normal people instead of alpha CEO heirs. Do you know how rare that is? How intoxicating. So intoxicating you left a note calling it a mistake, I countered, but my voice lacked conviction. A note we didn't write, Hyunwoo reminded me. Our father is a controlling bastard who spent his entire life manipulating us into perfect corporate weapons. When he found out we'd bonded with someone without his approval, someone he couldn't control or use, he eliminated the problem. I was a problem. You were a miracle we weren't ready for. Taemin's voice cracked, and by the time we realized what we'd lost, you were gone. No trace, like you'd never existed except in our memories and the bond mark that wouldn't fade. I froze. Bond mark? Hyunwoo tugged his collar down, revealing a small silvery mark just above his collarbone. Taemin mirrored the gesture, showing an identical mark. Incomplete bond, Hyunwoo explained. Started but never finished. It should have faded within weeks. Instead, it's been burning for 7 years, reminding us exactly what we lost. My hand moved on instinct, fingers hovering over Taemin's mark. He shuddered at the almost touch, eyes falling closed. Don't, he whispered. Please, I'm barely holding it together as it is. I pulled back, suddenly aware of how close we were standing, how my body was responding to their proximity, my scent sweetening, despite my best efforts to remain unaffected. This is complicated, I managed. Everything worth having is, Hyunwoo said. I have conditions, rules. If we're doing this, we do it my way. Name them. I took a breath, marshaling my thoughts into something coherent. First, the twins come first. Always. Every decision, every plan, every future possibility runs through what's best for them. Agreed, they said in unison. Second, no bulldozing. No buying buildings or companies or using your wealth and influence to corner me into choices. I've built a life without that, and I won't be controlled. Fair, Hyunwoo acknowledged. Though for the record, I only bought partial shares in your building's management company, not the entire property. That's not the defense you think it is. Noted. Third, I continued, you don't get to walk in and be perfect instant fathers. This is going to be messy and awkward and full of mistakes. I need you to be okay with that, with failing sometimes. We're already failing, Taemin said quietly. We missed 6 years, every milestone, every first word and first step and first day of school. We can't get that back, but we can show up now. Imperfectly, honestly. My precognition flickered, showing me a future where this worked, where the 5 of us figured out how to be a family despite the rocky foundation. It also showed me futures where it fell apart spectacularly. The thing about precognition was that nothing was certain. Every choice created new branches, new possibilities. I had to choose which future to reach for. Okay, I whispered. We try, but slowly, carefully, and if at any point the twins are hurting because of this arrangement, we stop and reassess. Whatever you need, Taemin agreed. There's one more thing. I met Hyunwoo's calculating gaze. The contract. Haven Solutions and Kang Industries are competing for the same government deal. If you win, I need to know it's because you deserved it, not because you're trying to help me or sabotage your own company out of guilt. And if you win, Hyunwoo asked, then I earned it, fair and square. Something flickered in his eyes. Respect, maybe, or challenge. Deal, may the best proposal win. It'll be mine. Confident, I have reason to be. He smiled small and genuine, and it transformed his entire face. Made him look younger, less like a corporate shark and more like the man who'd made me laugh 7 years ago. Dangerous territory. My phone buzzed. Text from Sang-hyun. Twins are asking when you're coming to get them. Also, Min-jae convinced the vending machine guy to give him extra chips through strategic negotiation, which I think means he guilt-tripped him. Your son is terrifying. He's your godson too, I texted back. And I'm very proud and slightly afraid. I looked at Taemin and Hyunwoo. I need to get my kids. They've had enough chaos for one day. Can we see them tomorrow? Taemin asked. Properly, not an ambush at a business event, but planned, intentional. My precognition showed me the scene. Weekend morning, park nearby, the twins teaching their fathers how to navigate playground politics and the complex art of sharing swings. It looked terrifying. It also looked possible. Tomorrow, 2 p.m., Han River Park, near the Bampo Bridge. I pulled out my phone. Give me your numbers. The real ones this time, not summit registries you hacked. Legally ambiguous access, Hyunwoo corrected, but he was already typing his contact information into my phone. When they left, Taemin paused at the door. Jiwon, thank you for giving us a chance. Don't thank me yet. You haven't experienced a full day with twin 6-year-olds. You might regret this. Impossible, he said simply. And then they were gone. I stood alone in the conference room, surrounded by the remnants of the most chaotic day of my life, and let myself feel it. The fear, the hope, the terrifying possibility that maybe, just maybe, I didn't have to do this alone anymore. My phone buzzed again. We're going to make this work, whatever it takes. Taemin, statistically, blended families have a 68% success rate when all parties communicate openly. We can beat those odds. Hyunwoo. You're both ridiculous, I typed back. But not wrong? Taemin. I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. Not wrong, I finally admitted. Just terrifying. The best things usually are. Hyunwoo. I stared at my phone screen until the words blurred, then shoved it in my pocket and headed toward the vending machine area, where Sang-hyun was supposedly preventing my children from becoming tiny corporate raiders. I found them exactly where my precognition had shown me. Min-jae demonstrating his negotiation tactics to a bemused Sang-hyun, while Hajun organized their chip haul by flavor profile. Papa! Min-jae spotted me first, launching himself at my legs with the full-body enthusiasm of someone who hadn't just witnessed his entire world reorganize itself. Uncle Sang-hyun says we can't start a vending machine protection racket, but I think he's being unnecessarily cautious about entrepreneurship. Your son tried to charge other people premium prices for guaranteed vending machine success, Sang-hyun explained. He made 40,000 won before I shut it down. That's like $35, I said weakly. In 15 minutes. He's a menace. Hajun tugged my sleeve. Are you okay, Papa? Your future eyes were really active earlier. Did you see something bad? How did I explain to my 6-year-old that I'd seen 1,000 possible futures, most of them terrifying, some of them beautiful, all of them requiring me to be braver than I felt? I saw a lot of things, baby, good and bad and complicated. Did you see the thing where Taemin and Hyunwoo are coming to the park tomorrow? Min-jae asked casually, and my heart stopped. How do you know about that? Taemin texted Uncle Sang-hyun to ask what time works best and what kind of snacks we like. Min-jae held up Sang-hyun's phone, showing me a group chat I definitely hadn't authorized. Also, they're arguing about whether to bring a soccer ball or a frisbee. Hyunwoo says soccer builds strategic thinking. Taemin says frisbee is more inclusive for varying skill levels. I looked at Sang-hyun. You gave them your number? They're the twins' fathers, and they seem genuinely invested in doing this right. He shrugged. Also, Taemin promised to donate to my nonprofit if I help facilitate healthy co-parenting communication. He bribed you. He made a charitable contribution in exchange for consultation services. Totally different. You're all conspiring against me. We're conspiring for you, Sang-hyun corrected. There's a distinction. Hajun leaned against my side, his earlier energy fading into the exhaustion that always followed his anxious episodes. Papa, I like them. Taemin smells like safe places, and Hyunwoo explained mathematical probability in a way that actually made sense. Is that okay? The question broke something in my chest. Of course it's okay, sunshine. You're allowed to like them. But what if liking them means not liking you as much? His voice went small, worried. Like there's only so much like to go around? I crouched down, gathering both twins close. Love doesn't work like that. It's not a limited resource. You loving them doesn't mean less love for me. It just means your world got bigger. Bigger sounds scary, Hajun whispered. It is scary, but also kind of exciting. I kissed his forehead. And we're going to figure it out together, okay? All of us. Even when it's weird and awkward? Minjae asked. Especially then. My phone buzzed. Another group chat message, this one with a photo attached. Taemin and Hyunwoo standing in what looked like a toy store, holding up two different soccer balls with identical expressions of befuddled concern. Which one do 6-year-olds prefer? The regulations specify size 3 for under 8s, but online reviews are contradictory. Hyunwoo. He's been researching youth soccer equipment for 40 minutes, Taemin added. Please send help. Just pick the one that's not hideously expensive, I typed back. They're 6. They'll be more interested in the snacks. What kind of snacks? Hyunwoo. Are there dietary restrictions we should know about? Taemin Minjae's allergic to strawberries. Hajun doesn't like anything with artificial grape flavor. Otherwise, they're tiny garbage disposals. Noted. Compiling appropriate snack options now. Hyunwoo. I watched the messages roll in, these two powerful alphas completely out of their depth, trying to prepare for a park playdate, and something warm unfurled in my chest. They were trying, genuinely, awkwardly trying. They're asking about snacks, I showed the twins. Apparently Hyunwoo is making a spreadsheet. A spreadsheet for snacks? Minja's eyes lit up. That's so extra. I love it. Can we help pick? Hajun asked shyly. I looked at Sang-hyun, who made a your funeral gesture, then handed my phone to the twins. Watching them type suggestions to their fathers, faces bright with excitement, I felt the last of my walls crack. Not crumble entirely, but fracture enough to let light through. My precognition flickered, showing me tomorrow. The park, sunshine, Taemin pushing Hajun on a swing, while Hyunwoo attempted to understand Minjae's complex playground hierarchy theories. Laughter, belonging, the terrifying beginning of something that looked like family. Papa, your future eyes are doing the happy crying thing, Minjae observed. I'm not crying. Your eyes are leaking. Allergies? You don't have allergies. I just developed them. Spontaneously. Right now. Sang-hyun snorted. You're the worst liar I've ever met. It's a character flaw I'm working on. The group chat exploded with messages. Apparently Hyunwoo had indeed created a spreadsheet, and Taemin was mocking him for it, while simultaneously adding his own color-coded categories. The twins were providing running commentary, and somehow the conversation had devolved into a debate about whether dinosaur-shaped fruit snacks were scientifically accurate enough to be educational. They're ridiculous, I muttered, but I was smiling. They're trying, Sang-hyun said quietly. That counts for something. It counted for everything. We collected the twins' overnight bags from my car, Sang-hyun promising to return them safely in the morning, despite Minjae's protests that he was totally fine to stay up until midnight discussing vending machine economics. As I drove home through Seoul's neon-lit streets, my phone kept buzzing with updates. Pictures of the soccer ball they'd finally chosen, a photo of Taemin holding a stuffed dinosaur with a caption that read, "Is this one scientifically accurate?" A message from Hyunwoo with a proposed park itinerary that included scheduled breaks and hydration reminders. You don't need to plan every minute, I texted. Kids are chaos engines. Just roll with it. I don't know how to roll with things. Hyunwoo. Then tomorrow will be educational for everyone. Me, are you nervous? Taemin's message was quieter, more serious. About tomorrow? My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Honesty or deflection? The old me would have deflected. Built a wall, kept things light and surface level. But I was tired of walls. Terrified, I admitted, but also hopeful. Which is somehow worse. Hope is brave, Taemin replied. You're brave. I'm really not. I'm faking it until the fear gets bored and leaves. That's what bravery is. Doing things that scare you anyway. I pulled into my apartment complex parking garage, killed the engine, and sat in the quiet dark with my phone glowing in my hands. See you tomorrow, 2 p.m. Don't be late. Wouldn't dream of it. Taemin statistically will arrive 7 minutes early to account for traffic variables. Hyunwoo, you're both disasters. Me your disasters now. Taemin. The words settled over me like a blanket. Your disasters. Mine. Ours. I climbed out of the car, locked it, and headed toward my apartment, the one I'd carefully built as a sanctuary for just me and my sons. Tomorrow, that sanctuary was expanding to include two alphas who'd been searching for me for 7 years. My precognition showed me the future branching out in infinite directions. Some futures ended in heartbreak, some in joy, most in the messy, complicated middle ground where real life actually happened. But in every single one, I wasn't alone anymore. And maybe that was worth the fear. My phone buzzed one last time as I unlocked my door. Thank you for giving us this chance. We won't waste it. Hyunwoo, sleep well, Jiwon. Dream of good futures. Taemin. I stood in my doorway, looking at my quiet apartment that would soon be filled with soccer balls and fruit snacks, and two alphas trying their best to be fathers. Here's to good futures, I whispered to the empty room. And for the first time in 7 years, I let myself believe in them. I stepped into my apartment, the familiar space suddenly feeling different. Not smaller exactly, just waiting. Like it knew change was coming and had already started making room. My phone lit up on the kitchen counter where I'd tossed it. Another message. Your precognition, Hyunwoo's text read. Can you see us in your futures? I stared at the question, my ability flickering to life without conscious direction. The visions came softer now, less frantic. Like my precognition had finally stopped screaming warnings and started showing possibilities. I see a lot of things, I typed back. Some of them don't terrify me. That's progress. Taemin. What do you see right now? Hyunwoo. I closed my eyes, let the future unfold behind my eyelids. Tomorrow at the park. Yes. But beyond that. Weeks, months, years spiraling out in threads of light and shadow. I see Minjae teaching you both how to negotiate with playground bullies using what he calls strategic emotional warfare. I see Hajun falling asleep between the three of us during a movie, completely content. I see us figuring out custody schedules and school pickup rotations, and whose apartment has the better snack selection. Ours, obviously, Taemin sent. We have a whole floor. You have an empty floor. I have a home. Me teach us. The question came from Hyunwoo, vulnerable in its simplicity. My breath caught. Teach you what? How to make it feel like home. How to be what they need. What you need. I sank onto my couch, phone clutched in both hands, and let the tears come. Not sad ones, not entirely happy either. Just the release of 7 years of holding everything together alone, finally letting someone else share the weight. You're already learning, I sent. You asked about snacks and soccer balls and whether we had dietary restrictions. You held Hajun when he couldn't breathe and made Minjae laugh. You're doing it right. It doesn't feel right. It feels terrifying. Taemin, welcome to parenthood. The terror never stops. You just get better at functioning through it. And us? Hyunwoo again pushing, always pushing for clarity, for definition. What do you see for us? The three of us? My precognition showed me the answer before I could form words, showed me mornings tangled in sheets that smelled like cedar and smoke and lavender, showed me arguments about discipline strategies and makeup kisses that tasted like apology and promise, showed me a mating bond finally, fully completed after 7 years of burning incomplete, showed me family. I see us figuring it out, I typed carefully, messily, imperfectly, but together. That's all we want. Taemin. When you're ready, Hyunwoo added. No pressure, no expectations. Just possibility. I looked around my apartment, this space I'd built as a fortress against the world. It had served its purpose, kept me and my sons safe while we healed and grew and became people who could survive anything. But maybe surviving wasn't enough anymore. Maybe it was time to live. Tomorrow, I sent. Let's start tomorrow and see where it goes. The response was immediate, both of them typing at once. Tomorrow. Taemin. We'll be there. 7 minutes early. Hyunwoo, bring the dinosaur-shaped snacks, the scientifically accurate ones. Already packed. Taemin. I set my phone down, exhaustion finally catching up with the adrenaline crash. But before I could move, my precognition flared one more time. Stronger than before, clearer, not tomorrow. Further out, 6 months from now, a Sunday morning, sunlight streaming through windows that belonged to a bigger apartment, one with room for 5. Minjae and Hajun sprawled on a massive couch, arguing about which movie to watch. Taemin in the kitchen, attempting to make pancakes while Hyunwoo provided running commentary on his technique. And me, standing in the doorway, watching my family with a bond mark finally complete on my neck, and matching marks on two alphas who looked at me like I'd hung the moon. 1 year from now, Haven Solutions celebrating a major contract win, Taemin and Hyunwoo in the audience cheering louder than anyone. The twins holding a banner they'd made themselves. Our papa is the smartest CEO in Korea, and also the best at hugs. 3 years from now, a small ceremony in a park by the Han River. No big production, just us and Sang-gyun, and a handful of people who mattered. Minji and Hajun standing between us, holding rings they'd helped choose. Do you promise to be a family? The officiant asking. We already are. All 5 of us answering together. The vision released me gently, leaving me breathless and smiling, and absolutely certain that my precognition was showing me not just a possible future, but the right one. My phone buzzed one final time. Sleep well, Jiwon. Tomorrow's the first day of the rest of our lives. Taemin, statistically speaking, we have approximately 1,530 days until the twins turn 18 and leave for university. I intend to make every single one count. Hyunwoo, you're both ridiculous and I'm keeping you, I sent back. Promise? Taemin. I looked at the message, at these 2 alphas who'd spent 7 years, searching for me, who'd walk back into my life and immediately love my sons with a fierceness that matched my own, who were trying so hard to be what we needed even when they had no idea what they were doing. Promise, I typed, and I meant it. I fell asleep on my couch, phone still in my hand, dreaming of good futures that tasted like hope and cedar and smoke and the particular joy of watching your family become whole. When I woke hours later, dawn painting my apartment in shades of gold, I had 3 new messages. The twins want to know if we can bring bubbles to the park. Apparently bubbles are crucial to proper outdoor recreation. Taemin, I've researched optimal bubble solution recipes. Did you know glycerin improves bubble structural integrity? Hyunwoo, please make him stop. He's been talking about bubble physics for 20 minutes. Taemin. I laughed, the sound filling my empty apartment, and it didn't feel empty anymore. Bring the bubbles. Bring the soccer ball. Bring yourselves. That's all we need. See you soon. Taemin, 1:53 p.m., accounting for traffic. Hyunwoo. I stood, stretched, and started preparing for the day that would change everything. Not dramatically, not with grand gestures or impossible promises, just 2 alphas and an omega, and twin boys learning how to be a family. My precognition hummed contentedly, showing me the hours ahead. Laughter and awkward moments in Hyunwoo's precise 7 minutes early arrival. Hajun's delighted squeal when Taemin presented the scientifically accurate dinosaur snacks. Minjae's immediate interrogation about their business practices and whether they'd considered expanding into youth sports equipment, consulting. Chaos. Beautiful, messy, perfect chaos. I picked up my phone one more time, fingers hovering over the group chat. Thank you, I typed, for not giving up, for finding us, for trying. Always, came Taemin's immediate reply. Every day for the rest of our lives, Hyunwoo added, however many we get. I looked out my window at Seoul's morning skyline, this city that had witnessed my survival and was about to witness something better. My triumph, our beginning. See you soon, I sent. And for the first time since that night 7 years ago, I let myself believe in happy endings. Not because they were guaranteed, but because they were possible. And possible was enough. 3 years later. Same park, different season. Autumn leaves falling like gold. Papa, Papa, look! Minjae's voice carried across the playground. We taught them how to do a proper handstand. I looked up from my laptop, where I'd been reviewing Haven Solutions' latest acquisition proposal, to see both Taemin and Hyunwoo attempting handstands, while my sons provided detailed coaching. Taemin collapsed immediately, laughing. Hyunwoo held the position for exactly 3 seconds before his arms gave out. You're getting better, Hajun said encouragingly. Only slightly embarrassing now instead of completely hopeless. Your confidence in us is inspiring, Hyunwoo deadpanned. But he was smiling. Actually smiling, not the corporate mask he used to wear like armor. I felt arms wrap around me from behind, Taemin's chin settling on my shoulder. Stop working. It's family day. I'm just finishing. Nope. Laptop closed. Park rules. He gently shut my computer, pressed a kiss to my mating mark that sent pleasant shivers down my spine. We have exactly 2 hours before the twins convince some poor vendor to let them start a playground business venture. Let's enjoy the peace. There is no peace with twin 6-year-olds. 9-year-olds now, and you love the chaos. I did. God help me. I absolutely did. Hyunwoo joined us, settling on my other side, our bond humming contentedly with proximity and belonging. The procurement committee called. We got the contract. Both of us. Joint venture. I blinked. Both companies? Apparently our collaborative proposal was too compelling to choose between. Something about complementary strengths creating optimal outcomes. He paused. We'll need to coordinate schedules. Maybe merge some operations, share office space. You're already living together, Taemin pointed out. Sharing office space is hardly a challenge. I'm just saying it's convenient. You're saying you get to see Jiwan during business hours now, and you're smug about it. That too. I watch my sons play, watch the life we'd built together unfold in real time, and my precognition showed me futures that stretched out bright and beautiful and occasionally catastrophic, but always, always together. Hey, I said quietly. Thank you. For this. For them. For us. Thank you, Taemin corrected. For giving us a chance when we didn't deserve it. For being brave enough to hope, Hyunwoo added. Minja's voice rang across the park. Papa, Dads, come see. We found a really cool bug, and Hajun wants to adopt it. We're not adopting bugs, I called back, but it's educational. Still no. Taemin laughed, pulling us both to our feet. Come on, let's go explain why we can't have insect children. Again, Hyunwoo sighed. This is the 3rd time this month. We walked toward our sons together, 3 alphas and 1 omega, and 2 brilliant, chaotic boys who'd brought us all together. And it was perfect. Not because it was easy, but because it was ours. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as can ever imagine. So do check it out. If that ending wrecked you, hit subscribe. The next chapter drops soon.